Denny Hamlin shockwaves through the racing community with his recent statements about the ongoing charter negotiations. Speaking at the NASCAR Cup Series Media Day held at the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte, North Carolina, Hamlin didn't hold back in expressing his concerns and frustrations. When asked about the current state of charter negotiations, Hamlin's response was brief but impactful. Stagnant.
What has to be done?
Stagnant.
Stagnant.
Yeah.
What has to be done from either side to move it to the next level?
One side will have to wake up and be reasonable.
This single word painted a clear picture of the lack of progress in discussions between NASCAR and team owners. Hamlin didn't stop there, elaborating on what he believes needs to happen to move things forward. One side will have to wake up and be reasonable, he stated firmly. When pressed on which side needed to be more reasonable, Hamlin's response was equally direct, not ours. These statements from Hamlin, who has 54 NASCAR Cup Series wins to his name and co-owns the 2311 racing team with basketball legend Michael Jordan, carry significant weight in the NASCAR community. They highlight the growing tension between the sport's governing body and team owners over the future of the charter system. The charter system, introduced in 2016, was designed to provide value and stability to team owners. However, Hamlin's comments suggest that the current negotiations are far from achieving these goals. His frustration was evident as he spoke about the lack of progress and the direction of the talks. Adding fuel to the fire, Curtis Polk, an investor in 2311 Racing, made a bold statement at the recent Darlington race. Polk wore a shirt with a handwritten message that read,
Stagnant.
Stagnant.
Yeah.
What has to be done from either side to move it to the next level?
One side will have to wake up and be reasonable, that's all.
Which side?
Please don't ask me about my charter. I don't want to disparage NASCAR and lose it. When asked about Polk's action, Hamlin's explanation was succinct: frustration.
Which side?
Not ours.
Not ours. What made Curtis wear that shirt? That sign on his shirt?
Frustration.
This public display of dissatisfaction didn't end there. On his podcast, Actions Detrimental, Hamlin revealed a troubling development in the charter negotiations. He stated the tweet, "They do not want you speaking negatively. That's a new add to the charter agreement. We'll see how that goes."
They do not want you speaking negatively. It's a new add to charter agreement. We'll see how that goes.
This revelation about an anti-disparagement clause in recent charter agreement drafts has raised concerns about freedom of speech and transparency in the sport. The tension between NASCAR and team owners was further highlighted during Tyler Reddick's regular season championship celebration. Reddick, who drives for 2311 Racing, won the title, but Hamlin expressed disappointment at NASCAR's absence during the trophy presentation. Certainly pretty disappointed to not see anyone from NASCAR present Tyler his trophy, Hamlin said. When asked if he thought it was personal, Hamlin responded, "I don't know. That was the first I've seen." While NASCAR officials have been expressing confidence that a new charter agreement will be completed during the 10-race, 2 to 1.5 month NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, Hamlin's perspective paints a different picture. Of course they want it to, but the truth is they keep going in the wrong direction, Hamlin stated. This contrast in viewpoint suggests a significant disconnect between NASCAR's leadership and team owners. Hamlin's comments shed light on the diverse perspectives among team owners regarding the charter negotiations. He explained, "There's probably a handful of teams that are just happy to take any deal that they can get, and there's others with some business sense that says this is unreasonable." As a vocal spokesperson for dissatisfied teams, Hamlin revealed that other team owners have been expressing their concerns to him privately. "I don't love being the megaphone," Hamlin admitted. "I wish some of these other owners who are griping to me through text and calls would just do it publicly themselves, but I think that they fear pushback." This fear of repercussions highlights the tense atmosphere surrounding the negotiations. The potential consequences of failing to reach an agreement are significant. Hamlin explained, "If we don't have a charter agreement, we don't owe the series anything, and they don't owe us anything, so it goes both ways for sure."
If it doesn't happen, okay, can a charter deal get done? Yeah, absolutely. It could. But again, someone will have to wake up and have a completely different mindset, and I just don't know that is going to be possible. So, what happens if the season ends? Then we retain all of our rights, and
So that's clear. You retain your rights.
Yeah, if we don't have a charter agreement, We don't owe the series anything,
Okay.
and they don't owe us anything. So it goes both ways, for sure.
When asked if NASCAR could prevent teams from racing without charters, Hamlin responded, "I don't think they can stop you from racing. I mean, Joe and Billy's garage can put a car together and run a race the way our sport is formed right now."
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think they can stop you from racing. I mean,
Curtis,
Joe and
Yeah.
Billy's garage can put a car together and run a race in the way our sport is formed
Curtis's
right now.
shirt
This
said,
scenario could lead to a fundamental restructuring of NASCAR competition. Hamlin's investment in NASCAR as a team owner adds another layer to his perspective on the negotiations. He stated, "I made a good living in this as a NASCAR driver, and I chose to invest back in the France family and NASCAR, and they are yet to show me an opportunity where I'm going to get that back."
I made a good living in this as a NASCAR driver, and I chose to invest back in the France family and NASCAR, and they are yet to show me an opportunity where I'm going to get that back.
This comment highlights the financial stakes for team owners in these negotiations and the lack of return on investment they're currently seeing. The NASCAR veteran also shared his views on the sport's growth and the crucial role teams play in it. Hendrick and Gibbs putting superstars on the racetrack. That is what has built the sport, Hamlin asserted.
Hendrick and Gibbs putting superstars on the racetrack, that is what has built the sport.
He emphasized that fans come to see star drivers, not just cars going around in circles. Fans do not come to see cars going around in circles. If they would, then we would sell out ARCA races, but they don't. They come to sell out on Sunday to watch Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson and Kyle Busch. Hamlin outlined the extensive contributions teams make to the sport. Who provides them the cars? And that's the teams. Who spends the money? That's the teams. Whose sponsors go buy a suite? That's the teams. Whose sponsors activate in their midways? That's the teams. He expressed frustration that these contributions aren't fully valued by NASCAR, stating, "That's the tough part, that they just don't value us."
Who provides them the cars? And that's the teams. Who spends the money? That's the teams. Whose sponsors go buy suites? That's the teams. Whose sponsors activate in their midway? The teams. That's the tough part, that they don't value us.
Reflecting on his personal efforts to grow the sport, Hamlin said, "As a driver, I've put in 20 years doing this, and I feel like I've tried to do my best to grow social following, giving more content." Things like that, trying to update the times. He also mentioned starting 23XI Racing as part of his legacy building efforts. "I tried to start a race team to build my legacy well beyond being a race car driver itself, being part of the sport, investing in Jim France, investing in NASCAR." However, Hamlin believes his outspoken stance may have put him at odds with NASCAR leadership. "I'm doing my part, but certainly I think probably from their standpoint they just see me as a thorn in their side and more than likely would be better off without me," he stated.
I'm doing my part, but certainly I think probably from their standpoint they just see me as a thorn in their side and more than likely would be better off without me.
This perception underscores the growing divide between some team owners and NASCAR's leadership. The ongoing charter negotiations have broader implications for the sport's future. Hamlin emphasized the need for both sides to work together. "We're all trying to improve the sport and grow the sport. We all want what's best for the sport. If the sport does great, we will do better. So I think we all just need to figure out how to lock arms and do it together."
Text and calls would just do it publicly themselves, but I think that they fear pushback, but
What's the fear of pushback, though? You guys are trying to improve your side.
Yeah, that's the thing, is we're all trying to improve the sport and grow the sport, and we all want that. We all want what's best for the sport. The sport does great. We will do better.
However, Hamlin doesn't see the current proposals as collaborative efforts. "We don't have any agreement in front of us that is locking of arms. It's all one-sided," he said.
We don't have any agreement in front of us that is locking of arms. It's all one-sided.
This lack of collaboration is a significant point of contention in the negotiations. The introduction of an anti-disparagement clause in the charter agreement has raised concerns about free speech and transparency in the sport. Hamlin questioned the fairness of such a clause, asking, "Who is the jury, the judge, and the executioner? It sounds like it's all the same person. It's never been the same person, but now they're proposing that it is."
Who's the jury, the judge, and the executioner? Sounds
But
like
you've
it's all
never
the
been
same
warned.
person.
It's never the same person. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
It's never been the same person, but now they're proposing it is.
This clause has become a focal point of criticism from team owners who feel it limits their ability to voice concerns. The ongoing negotiations also touch on broader issues of sport management and growth. Hamlin argued for a more collaborative approach, saying, "That's the tough part, that they just don't value us."
That's the tough part, that they don't value us.
He believes that acknowledging the team's contributions is crucial for the sport's future success. As the playoffs approach, the pressure to reach a charter agreement intensifies. Hamlin predicted, "I had a feeling this was going to go all the way to the 11th hour for sure, and there has just been a lot of stall tactics that have been in play, and here we are."
Oh yeah, I had a feeling this was going to go all the way to the 11th hour for sure, and there's just been a lot of stall tactics that have been in play, and here we are.
This statement suggests that the negotiations may continue right up until the last possible moment. The potential for teams to race without charters if an agreement isn't reached adds another layer of complexity to the situation. Hamlin's statement that teams could potentially race without charters challenges the current structure of NASCAR and raises questions about the future of the sport. The situation remains fluid, with both NASCAR and team owners working to find common ground. However, Hamlin's comments suggest that reaching an agreement may be more challenging than previously thought. As the NASCAR playoffs approach, all eyes will be on these negotiations and their potential impact on the sport's future. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to NASCAR Insider for more interesting news.